Hey! Do you see how he just like broke through the wind right there to get here?
Yeah, wow.
That's not at all what we're talking about this episode.
Uh-huh.
We got a new anime,
We
obviously. And unlike the last thing we talked about, my dear friend Nokatan,
Right.
this anime we liked so much, we watched the entire thing in one day.
Yeah, the entire first season, all in one day.
Crazy.
Yeah.
What did we watch?
We watched Windbreaker.
Windbreaker.
So before we start, I just want to say, so every once in a while there's an anime where every description you read about it is 100% accurate.
Yeah.
And yet somehow fails to actually express what the show is.
Agreed, yeah.
And this is one of those anime where like everything I read about it I can say is absolutely accurate.
Yeah.
And yet I did not get at all the impression of what this show was.
I agree. It's funny. I read a little bit about it and I was like, okay. And for some weird reason, it was calling to me. And I think you were a little like reticent about it.
It was on a ton of like best of the year so far lists.
Yeah.
So it's like, I was like, so there's got to be like, really great factors to it. I'm interested in seeing it. But yeah, all the descriptions kind of made me like, I'm interested in seeing it, but also, like, I don't know if I care.
Oh, 100%. And it's funny, because I just, like I said, it was calling to me. I really wanted to watch it. I was like, let's give it a few episodes. And I feel like after the first episode, we were in. So, I mean, I would say that this show is kind of a mix of, like, Naruto meets, like, Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
Like, it takes place in this world where, essentially, there are high schools that seem to just be, like, places for kids to fight.
Yeah.
And be like essentially warriors against other schools full of kids
that
also want to fight.
I mean, it's like an inner city school in a small town.
Yeah.
But we're not sure if there are teachers at this school.
We have no idea.
But the kids have uniforms.
Yes.
And they have class assignments
But it's kind of like in Naruto when it was like there was the ninja school and then those kids went out and fought like other like, groups of kids from other schools. It's like that, except it's in like real life Japan, and no one has powers, and no one's a ninja.
But at least those had teachers at the school.
Yeah, so, this one, you're right. It all seems to be run by the kids.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, every description was about, like you said, it was about how these kids fighting, and this one, like, this outsider, from out of town came in, and he wants to be the top of the school of fighters.
Well, that's just funny because...
And it's totally accurate, but does not get to the heart of the show.
Well, and that's what's funny, because it is very shonen in the fact that, like you said, the main character, it's like he wants to be, top of the school. So he wants to be, he wants to be king of the pirates. He wants to be Hokage. It's so, like, shonen. But it's so funny that I think we watch so much anime, and so much anime, like, you have to, like, suspend so much disbelief that this one, just like a school run by kids where they all fight in gangs against other kids, was not beyond belief at all. I'm like, this tracks. This seems real.
It's funny because, like, we watch things like Best Student Council and stuff where clearly the student council, like, runs everything, even the more business aspects of the school.
Yeah.
But at least there were teachers in it.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
But you're right. Like, if the most disbelief I have to suspend is that there are no teachers at the school, sure.
Well, it's almost as if, like, a dystopia took place that they never mention.
Yeah.
Because you're right. The fact is that there appear to be all of these, like, towns in Japan that are basically all protected by these different, like, school gangs.
Yeah.
And yet, like...
Or at least these different school gangs exist within these different towns. I think the main town is the only one that truly protects their city.
Right, yeah. But it's funny.
Or their neighborhood, I don't know.
And I guess in that way, it did slightly remind me of, like, Warriors.
Yeah.
The Warriors from the 1970s. Because there is that kind of, like... or, like, I guess, Akira, with the bike gangs.
They're delinquents for justice.
Yeah, so basically, let's just get into it. So the main character is this teenage boy.
Yeah.
His name is Sakura, and he has heterochromia both in his eyes and his hair.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's always been an outcast. And they do a really cool job in the very beginning of showing that he's essentially Naruto.
He's been totally ostracized because of his looks, and like people were scared of him. And so, so he did all, like, the only thing he could do. He fought.
Yeah.
He like, learned to be strong, to fight against it. That was all he could do.
But you could tell that he was never given any compassion or love, and he's always like, quick to fight, quick to anger, and he's this character that like he's like fundamentally broken in the first episode, but he's like strong, and so and you root for him, and then like obviously it's got that thing where like as the episodes move on, he sort of he learns to be like a real boy, but essentially he decides to transfer to this school, Bufurin, which is essentially this school that is all about fighting.
Yeah.
And it's known for that. And he decides to come there. And they all think it's kind of weird that someone from the outside would come there, because it is very much like, once again, it is as if like these towns are like in the feudal system or like Leaf Village.
Well, the thing is that, again, I'm pretty sure it's just neighborhood. I don't even think it's a town, because there are some of the girls that we've now run into that are from the town that clearly go to regular schools.
Yeah.
Not fighty schools, So, I think there might be an actual education system happening in the neighborhoods around them.
Yes, just not in not in the fight schools
that
they go to. Yeah. But once again, it's sort of like, it's funny because there's like, it also, like I said, reminds me of Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
And then from there, really, it's just like about him sort of, dealing with these other classmates, learning to actually make friends, fighting guys from other schools.
Yeah.
And it's really dope.
The thing about this, so everything we've described now are all of the descriptions that we've gotten. Like the ones, like I said, are 100% accurate and yet don't give you the like.
Yeah.
The thing is that this show is incredibly deep.
It is, yeah.
Surprisingly deep and thoughtful, and it has such heart.
It does.
And there's so many moments, like so much introspection, and because it's a more of a slice of life, it's not, like you said, it's not a more fantasy, Naruto or whatever. It really makes you think. So when these characters are having these like moral dilemmas, they're things that like you can relate to.
Yeah.
In ways that sometimes you can't, in ones that are more fantastical.
Yeah, it is a very grounded show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody has superpowers, no one flies. Like it is very grounded. They're dealing with, really just sort of the dynamics of protecting people, protecting the weak.
Yeah.
And I also just think, to go along with what you were saying of it being like a really deep show, I really do feel like it is in many ways like a spiritual successor to Naruto. I mean, so much of what I think, we talk a lot, we've been watching a lot of One Piece lately.
Yeah.
And we talk about the fact that, like, the one thing that they do a little more of in Naruto than One Piece is sort of deal with the psychology of why somebody is a villain.
Yeah.
Especially, which they don't do as much in Naruto. In
One Piece. When they do, they really do, but they don't often.
They don't go into it too much usually. But where Naruto is just chock full of that. Naruto is a very empathetic show.
Yeah.
And this show definitely has that. And man, like it's so good. Like the villains of this first season, this other rival school, are so good.
Yeah.
And like in the way that the main heroes goes against like the team of them, it's dystopian, but it's also like really grounded and cool. And I don't know, I just like it's so cool, and the fight scenes are awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like...
Well, and it's such an interesting thing because, for a lot of the show, it goes between, like, the fighting and just the Sakura having to deal with learning that he's not going to be an outcast, and that because in the very first episode he saves the day and fights against this gang of delinquents that are like, messing with the town and messing with a girl. Because he like was beating them all up, the town loves him immediately.
Yes, totally.
And they're like, they see him the next day and they're like, oh, you helped us, here's bread. Oh, you helped us, here's
totally.
an apple. And he's just like, wait, why are you talking to me? Why are you doing nice things for me? Why are you giving me this? And like, he has so much trouble accepting people being nice to him. And I think like there's so many people that can relate to that. Like, even if you haven't gone through what he's gone through, there are so many people that can relate to that idea of like, not expecting people to treat you well, you know,
totally.
and then coming into a situation where it's like a whole new group of people, and all of a sudden, like, you're just accepted.
Like,
finding your people.
It kind of gives you hope if you're someone who feels a little disenfranchised, that there might be your place somewhere else in your group of people somewhere else.
There's so much about this show that like feels inspiring, that like is really uplifting. A show about teenagers beating each other up. Is shockingly uplifting.
It's like the wholesome version of Fight Club. It has nothing bad to say about consumerism whatsoever.
I mean, it's so good. And like you said, like, so 13 episode first season, and we just plowed through it because every episode would be like, no, I need to watch the next one. I need to watch the next one.
It's so enthralling. Well, it's funny because, you know, the last time we talked about My Dear Friend No-Katan is about nothing.
Yes.
And so, like,
in the best way, but also...
it's a comedy, and that's okay, but that was kind of tedious to get through because it was so just sort of everywhere. In this, like, the through line of the story, it was tight, it was efficient, all the character stuff made sense, nothing felt boring, it was just like, it was great. And I think
don't understand why it's called Windbreaker.
Well, that's the really funny thing. So when I first saw the cover of it, and I saw it was Windbreaker, and it was like 5 teenage guys all standing next to each other with like essentially, you know, these school uniforms on. I thought it was like a cross-country running show. I thought it was a sports anime that was either about soccer or cross-country running or some kind of athletic thing. And then I was like, wait, they're just fighting all the time? It's a street fighting show? That's really what made me want to watch it. They kind of explain, I think it has to do with like what the kanji of Furin High or Bufurin means.
I think you're right. But it also but that's also weird. You know, like I get it, but I also like don't quite get it.
And maybe I'm wrong, but I looked it up, and
I'm pretty sure
it is just called Windbreaker.
It is.
Sometimes, like, you know, an anime gets like a different name in the English translation.
Well, like My Dear Friend Nakatama, which is Noko.
It's Shikanoko
Noko Koshtantan.
It's the song, from the beginning, So anyway, whatever. But I do think, like, for real, like, anyone who likes Naruto, Cobra Kai, The Warriors. It feels very much like a sports anime too. Even though it's not in that the camaraderie and sort of the friction between these other gangs. But I will say the one way it's not like Naruto is you never feel like anyone's gonna die per se.
Well, that's where it like feels more like a slam dunk, where like where Sakura kind of has these sort of personality traits that are similar to Sakuragi.
Yes,
you know? and once again, like I said, the outsider coming in and like finding his people, he's
a little bit like Sakura. He's a bit like Ichigo from Bleach, and he's also a lot like the kid from Blue Exorcist. The lead of Blue Exorcist, because he's got a lot of the things that Naruto went through, but Naruto was a more positive character. This guy definitely is more bristly. Is that the word?
But there's so much comedy in the show. It's like it's a lot funnier than I was expecting. Again, with so much fighting, the amount of silliness that also happens, and like so there's fighting, there's silliness, and then there's these deep emotional moments, and it's like it goes between them, but it seamlessly goes between them.
It does. It's really good because it really does act with like the psychology of violence and internalizing trauma in a way. And I will say, I love some of the characters so much. So other than the main character Sakura, I love the like whatever you say, the top guy. was
Umameya?
Umameya? Yeah, he's awesome. They do that thing that they did a lot in Naruto, especially like the first Hokage, where like he's super strong, but he's also like very silly.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love the characters like that. He's so cool. And just all of his friends. And I love he's got like a little blonde friend who's basically like some combination of Zenitsu from Demon Slayer and Armin from My Attack on Titan, who can't fight, though decided to go to a school whose predominant function is to fight.
Well, one of my favorite things with him is that he does the same thing that Deku does in My Hero Academia, where he has this little book that he has all the little facts. So like Deku has it of all the hero facts. This kid has it of all of the kids in his school and other schools that he knows of, and like all about their fighting, and it's adorable.
It's great. It's great. It's really just it's a fun time. It's thrilling. It's like well worth it.
Yeah,
I loved it. I mean,
bingeable.
It's so binge. I mean, once again, it's like we watched it like in one day.
Yeah,
we literally watched all 13 episodes in a row.
Could not stop.
Couldn't get enough.
Yeah.
So
and honestly, so where it ends, I wanted more so badly. Like, it ends in one of those places where I'm like, wait. I have to wait till April for more?
I know.
Really?
I know. Well, it makes you like fond of like when Attack on Titan season 1 was like 20 episodes, and you're like, oh, can't we go back to that?
Yeah.
It's so rare, isn't it? Well, it was like, I remember when we watched Tsukimichi, it was like either the first or second season was like 20 episodes, and we couldn't believe it, because that doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah.
Once in a while, I feel like Frieren maybe had a really long
I think
first
you're right.
season. But yeah, generally speaking, we don't get a lot of long first seasons anymore. It's usually like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was awesome. So we watched on Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
So Windbreaker. Highly recommend it. Very fun, very cool.
Yeah.
So make sure to like and subscribe. And
what's your favorite sports anime?
There you go. Let us know in the comments down below. All right, thanks guys. Bye.